In 2019, Venezuela reached a moment no country ever wants to face: two presidents, one nation, and a world watching. On January 10th, 2019, Nicolas Maduro was sworn in for a second term as president, but much of Venezuela and much of the world refused to recognize it. The economy was shattered, and more than 3 million Venezuelans had already fled. And now the legitimacy of the government itself was brought into question. The country was tearing into two. 13 days later, on January 23rd, Juan Guaido stepped forward. Standing before a massive crowd in Caracas, the head of Venezuela's National Assembly declared himself interim president. Not through violence, not through a coup, but through a constitutional claim. He argued that Maduro's election was illegal. And suddenly, Venezuela had two presidents, two governments, and one collapsing country. On January 28th, the United States escalated the confrontation. The U.S. Treasury imposed sweeping sanctions on PDVSA, Venezuela's state oil company. In the 1990s, PDVSA produced over 3 million barrels of oil per day. By 2019, it produced less than 800,000. Sanctions cut Venezuela off from U.S. dollars, the lifeblood of its economy. Maduro called it economic warfare, but ordinary Venezuelans felt the impact first. By February 4th, 2019, the world had chosen sides. The United States, Canada, and most of Europe recognized Guaido. Russia, China, Cuba, Iran, and Turkey backed Maduro. More than 50 countries took a position. Venezuela was no longer just a national or regional crisis. It was now a global chessboard. On February 23rd, 2019, humanitarian aid trucks lined up at the Colombian border. Guaido promised food, medicine, and help. Maduro called it foreign interference. He ordered the military to stop it. Bridges were blocked, trucks were burned, and soldiers had to face their own people. The crisis was no longer symbolic, it was now physical. On April 30th, Guaido launched a final attempt to spark a military uprising. Some soldiers defected, but the high command remained loyal to Maduro, and that decided everything. Without the army, no revolution could succeed, and without a coup, no transition was possible. Power did not fall, it hardened. By December 6, 2020, Venezuela held parliamentary elections. The opposition boycotted the vote. Maduro's allies took control of the National Assembly, and Guaido's momentum faded. International attention drifted elsewhere to other topics. Maduro remained in power, not strong, not popular, but completely entrenched. The country wasn't exploding anymore, it was actually freezing in place. By December 31st, 2020, more than 5 million Venezuelans had fled the country. Families were split across borders, savings were erased, institutions were hollowed out. This wasn't just economic collapse, it was the total unraveling of a nation. It wasn't a revolution, it wasn't a victory, and it wasn't even a clear defeat. It was actually something worse, a country trapped between power, politics, and survival. 80 likes for part 16, and let me know what you think about longer content.